Why is it that some ideas seem to last for a long, long time, across generations, even across cultures and different parts of the world and things like that? Now, some people refer to this as the Lindy Effect. Now, this is not from some great scholar or other source. In fact, it's a concept that comes from the 1960s among comedians at Lindy's Deli in New York. And they were talking about how it seems like some shows that last for a long time, that means that they last even longer. Like the longer they last, the longer they're likely to last in the future as well. And there was another writer and thinker later who popularized it as the Lindy Effect, as a way to judge the staying power of ideas, arguing that time is really the ultimate test of value. Not the test of truth, but the test of value or significance of some sort, something that's worthy of our attention. A couple of insights, and I'm going to give you 5 lessons that we can kind of take away from this. But first, this applies to things that don't age. I'm not talking about like food that sits on the counter and just ages and rots, or even lives that come and go. There's a birth and death. I'm talking about knowledge and wisdom and stories and theories and books and things that stand across the test of time. The second thing I'll point out is that while longevity is proof that there's something to pay attention to, it's not necessarily proof that it's true or even good. Right? There are some things that last and stand the test of time because they feed a part of human nature that may not be so noble, maybe greediness or selfishness or something else like that. But it does point to something that's noteworthy, something we can learn from if it's lasted for a long time. So let's talk about 5 lessons, and these are there's a little bit of crossover from one lesson to the next. First one is this. I've jotted down 5 for us. Don't dismiss something just because it's old. I know there is this kind of sense that new is better. If we think about medical technology, I know that if I were going to have brain surgery, I would not want to go to a doctor who uses the time-tested tools of the 15th century in order to use a skull saw and find their way into my brain. So modern things are better than others. But the truth is, some things that are old and have lasted across generations have lasted because they have great merit and great value. And so let's not dismiss things just because they're old. Let's actually take a second look. Leading to that, second one, let time-tested items be a peak of your curiosity. When you see something that's lasted a really long time, ask why. Let that drive your curiosity to dig in and see what lessons you can extract from that. That can be a great and powerful tool for you as you go about solving problems and metaphorical and literal treasure hunting and truth seeking in your life. Third one is, in an information-rich world and a noisy world where we are being bombarded with ideas and new ideas and old ideas and all these other things, the lasting things are oftentimes the most quietly powerful. The ones that can really say something to us, that can stick. You know, there's a quote that I've referred to oftentimes, and I can't remember the original source, but went something like this: "He who marries the spirit of the age today may die a widower tomorrow." So sometimes this idea of just basing everything around the latest idea or theory or model or philosophy or framework or practice or whatever else it might be, that might just be a trend that's not going to stand the test of time, and it may not be around very long. And so we want to pay attention to some of those things that have demonstrated their ability to have relevance and significance across time, across culture. And that can help us maybe navigate all the noisiness when we're being bombarded and sometimes being bombarded with the message that new is always better when that's not universally true. Fourth one is, look to the long-standing when you're seeking something that's really, really substantial and deep and not just popular. Something isn't true just because it's popular, just as something isn't true just because it's old as well. But if it's old, it stood there for a reason. Let's give it that kind of respect and credibility that we're going to dig in and see what we can take from it. And the fifth one is, if you're trying to build something meaningful, think about the question, how can we build it in a way that stands the test of time? And that's really kind of a powerful thing. And I know we can't necessarily always answer that, but I think there's something valuable about asking the question, how can I build something that really, really stands the test of time? and try to do it. Consider, learn from that which has stood the test of time in the past. Look about things that meet universal needs. And when we're going about problem solving, let's not always just look for the trendiest solution, but let's look for the ones that might be lasting. Hope you find this useful and interesting. I look forward to your comments.